Here is a true story told by the great elder of Sihastria Monastery, Archimandrite Ioanicie Bolan from Romania. One day, a pregnant woman came to him, deeply distressed. Her husband didn't want children and claimed that they were a necklace of devils. He threatened her, saying that if she didn't get an abortion, he would either leave her or even kill her. The woman, however, responded that she would rather be killed than give up her child. Yet her husband kept pressuring her, relentlessly. "Woman," said the elder, "don't worry about what your husband is saying. The devil has darkened his mind. You, fast as much as you can, pray even more, and come to church often. God will take care of softening your husband's heart." As the Apostle Paul says, the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the believing wife, and vice versa. The woman confessed her sins, and the priest gave her a spiritual rule. Every morning she was to read the Akathist to the Mother of God, and every evening the Paraklesis, supplicatory canon. "If you have the Theotokos as your protector in life," he said, "you will find great favor with the Holy Trinity. The Mother of God is higher than the saints, more honorable than the cherubim, and more glorious beyond compare than the seraphim," as we say in the hymn Axion Estin. He also instructed her to mention her husband by name after her prayers, asking God to enlighten his heart. 2 months later, the woman returned to the elder visibly moved and said, "Father, a great miracle happened to me. I did exactly what you said. One evening, after finishing my prayers to the Mother of God, I fell asleep with the vigil lamp still burning in front of the holy icon. And this is the terrifying vision I had. I found myself in a beautiful valley between mountains. A road ran through it. As I walked along the road, I noticed on the edge of the forest some trees made of fire. Tied to each tree was a woman, with ropes, also made of fire. They were screaming in agony, writhing in unbearable torment. Then from the mountains came fiery vultures. They landed on the women's chests and tore off their breasts with beaks and claws until their ribs were exposed, and then devoured them. The birds flew back to the mountains, and meanwhile the women's breasts grew back. And it all repeated, again and again, endlessly. I was alone on the road, horrified, and I began to pray to the Mother of God and our Savior, asking to be delivered, begging that the same fate not befall me. While praying, I started to feel a bit calmer. Then I saw a young man walking toward me. He said, "Look, God allowed you to come here to see how the souls of women who had abortions are tormented. They kept their children from nursing at their breasts, making them worse than the wildest and most poisonous beasts of the earth, who would never do such a thing. Even the fiercest animal protects its young with its life. And yet humans, made in the image and likeness of God, kill their own babies with unspeakable cruelty. God is just in his judgments. You would have ended up here too, if you had listened to your husband and not to God. If you had gone through with the abortion, you would have died on the doctor's table that very day. Praise be to the Mother of God, who kept you from committing this terrible crime." Then he showed me a tree of fire, the only one without anyone tied to it. "This is where you would have been bound, had you killed your child," he said. Then I woke up, drenched in sweat, crying. I told my husband everything. He was shaken, repented deeply, and swore never to speak of abortion again. Later, he too went to confession and received a rule of repentance. Another remarkable story was told to Father Cleopa Ilie with tears in her eyes by an old woman named Ioana from Romania. It was the eve of the Ascension of the Lord around the year 1968. Her husband was not a believer at all. He never went to church, didn't pray, and wouldn't even eat the Blessed Pascha brought at Easter. As he lived like this, God allowed him to fall seriously ill during World War I. Only then, with great difficulty, did he accept to confess. He received Holy Communion and died shortly afterward. She had a few siblings, two of whom were also unbelievers, just like her late husband. One of them, Stefan, had lived his whole life in sin, keeping company with other women from the village besides his wife. He too became sick, but managed to confess and receive communion before passing away. Then there was her sister Ioana, who had lived her entire life with a man without being married. She died unconfessed. Now here's what happened to this woman, Ioana, while she was praying for her husband's soul. The door of the room where she was kneeling suddenly opened by itself. She thought it was a niece who sometimes came to sleep with her, but there was no one there. She got up and closed the door. A few minutes later, the door opened again by itself. She took a lamp to check, but again, there was no one. She went back to her knees and continued praying. After some time, the door opened once more, and even the wooden bar she had placed in the iron rings of the door fell to the ground, as the old village houses had back then. And in the doorway appeared a very beautiful young man. "Do not be afraid, Aunt Ioana," he said. "I am your guardian angel. You've been praying for your husband's soul, haven't you?" "Yes, I always pray for him," she replied. "Would you like to see where he is now? Come with me." They walked out into the back of the house and came upon an open field. The angel walked ahead, and she followed. They walked and walked until they reached a deep river, rushing noisily with very muddy water. "What river is this?" asked the woman. "This is the river of disturbance, Aunt Ioana. We must cross it." They crossed with great difficulty, as there was only a narrow footbridge between the banks and a deep abyss below. Once across, they walked a bit more and reached another stream, calm, narrow, and as clear as crystal. "What's this water, Angel?" "This is the water of peace." They crossed it easily, no bridge needed, and soon came upon a mountain. At the edge of the mountain were many furnaces built into it. Each had a metal lid and was guarded by giant, terrifying-looking beings. "These are the furnaces of the village Drachani," said the angel. "Here suffer those who died in unconfessed sin." As they walked further, they saw even more furnaces. These were for the sinners from the neighboring village, Malini. "You wanted to know where your husband is? He is here, along with your brother Stefan and your sister Ioana. They all lived in grave sin. They then searched for the furnace of her husband, Dumitru Gheorghe-Mushka. The angel ordered the guards to open the lid. From inside came the wailing of souls burning in the fiery flames. They were clothed, but the fire didn't burn their garments or their bodies. But they still felt the pain. She recognized many from her village, the tavern keeper, some women from the village. And then the angel said, "Bring out Dumitru, the husband of Ioana." He ordered some dark beings, holding pitchforks, who were turning and scorching the souls in the fire. And poor Ioana saw her husband thrown like a bundle of straw into the furnace's mouth, dressed exactly as he had been buried, in a sheepskin coat, traditional pants, and a fur hat. As soon as Dumitru saw her, he cried out, "Don't leave me, Ioana! Take me out of here. This fire is unbearable. Go quickly to church and pay for 7 rounds of memorial services for me." Before he could say more, he was taken again by the pitchfork and thrown back into the flames. Then the angel showed her her siblings, Stefan and Ioana, also burning in torment. He advised her to also pay 7 memorial services for them. In this way, Dumitru and Stefan, who had confessed before dying, would eventually reach the light, but her sister Ioana, who died without confession, would not be able to escape, though her torment would be much eased. Then she heard the clanking of chains locking the furnace lids, and the angel escorted her back home. When she awoke, she found herself still on her knees in her room. The door was wide open, and through it, she saw the back of the angel walking away from her house. Overcome with fear, she began making the sign of the cross fervently, weeping and praying for the forgiveness of the grave sins of her husband and siblings. When she finished telling her story, she added, "This is why I've come to you, Father Cleopa, to pay for the 7 memorial services for them all, so we can take them out of hell." Another faithful woman, Acalina Simeonescu, from the village of Parau Punte, Borca Commune, Neamț County, Romania, was 45 years old and the mother of 4 children. She used to tell a story about her mother-in-law, who had been very hostile and greedy for wealth. This woman would constantly argue with her sister and refuse to go to church or confess her sins. She held grudges and was anything but charitable. In the summer of 1965, she became seriously ill and was bedridden. Out of fear, she finally confessed and received communion. Before she died, she left all her possessions to her daughter-in-law, Acalina, and asked her to remember her soul at church services. In her final moments, she admitted how cruel and unmerciful she had been. She even gave Acalina 2 wool rugs to donate in her name, one to St. John the New of Suceava, and the other to the Sihastria Monastery. 3 days later, she passed away. Exactly 1 year later, in the summer of 1966, around the time of the traditional commemoration of the departed, Acalina was milking the cow. A poor neighbor's boy happened to pass by, and she handed him a bottle of milk as almsgiving for the soul of her mother-in-law. That evening, she sat in her chair to rest a bit, and soon she dozed off. She dreamed she was inside a large house with iron doors, all locked, and she was alone inside with no idea how to get out. Suddenly, a man appeared, holding in his hand the very same bottle of milk she had given away as a gift. Do you really think you can pull your mother-in-law out of hell with a bottle of milk? Do you want to see where her soul is now? As he said this, an iron door opened, revealing a horrifying sight. Crowds of people engulfed in flames. Some were burning up to their waist, others up to their neck, and some were completely consumed. Her mother-in-law was burning up to her neck. When she saw Acalina, she cried out in great sorrow, "Don't leave me here, Acalina. I'm suffering terribly. Please go to the monastery and pay for 7 full cycles of memorial services for my soul. It'll ease my suffering." Then the man holding the bottle of milk closed the door leading to that terrifying place and said, "I will not pass this bottle of milk along for her yet. First, you must arrange the memorial services at the church." Acalina immediately woke up, crying. She realized she had only been asleep for about 15 minutes.